Hello everyone, really glad to see all of you here, guys. So, hi John, hi Mary, hi Uwe, hi Travis, especially Travis, our good old friend who is with StarWind for at least 2 years as far as I remember. So, welcome to our tap room that is open every Thursday. It is the only tap room that welcomes laughing out loud from under the table. And today our topic is Microsoft Cluster Storage Spaces. Get rid of IA Blender. And just a quick reminder for you guys that our live tap room session occurs every Thursday. And before we will start, I want to assure everyone that the happening is recorded and the record actually will be uploaded to our website soon after we will get done today. Also, if you have some questions, please feel free to type them all in into the GoToWebinar question box, and all the questions will be answered. Moreover, if there will be a great, brilliant discussions, I will gladly unmute the person who asked it, and we will discuss the question live. Now, just a quick introduction of myself. My name is Anatoly, but you guys can call me Tony. I've been in IT for 7 years, and 6 of them I have dedicated to StarWind, and right now I am leading the support department in this company worldwide. Okay? Yeah, what is important as well, my preferred drink are Scotch and Cointreau. As far as I remember, Hitler liked Cointreau as well. But never mind. Um, just a quick agenda of today's session. First, while mixing the margarita, I'll remind everyone how IA Blender mixes the virtualized workload and how that affects the system. Then after, we will have a really excellent discussion about how Microsoft and StarWind make a stand to performance killer. Yeah, spoiler alert. After that, we will have the live demonstration of StarWind in action. And at the after party, we'll have the question and answer session where all of your concerns will be addressed. Okay, let's get it started. Bottoms up. Oh, by the way, let me open the beer. Nice. Okay, I'm ready. So, everyone who run the virtualization environment have seen the IA Blender at least once. So, what is that demon and who is cursed to face it? The workload of virtualized environment mostly consists and dominated by small random operations. Small reads, small writes, you know. And if your storage is presented by the spindle hard drives, which are the SATAs and SAS mostly, then that will definitely result in a great performance degradation since the disk in the SATA or SAS should make more spins to write the data if that is random and if that is small operation. Uh, that is not, that is not something that you may or may not consider. That is something that will affect your system, especially after the Moore's law that everybody know from the Interstellar movie. Great movie, by the way, right? So, how to fight that? How to stand that demon? What can actually people do to prevent that performance degradation? And by the way, in our environment, in our test lab, that performance drop was like 10 times or maybe even more, uh, which is significant, right? So, Microsoft offers traditional approach. Shot the sparrows with a BFG 2000. Just use Flash. Right. I mean, Flash is good. Obviously, Flash doesn't have any disks and doesn't have any hardware parts that should move or something. It just, if the write or read comes into the disk, it just processed. Yeah, obviously, the flash drives are fast. That is just the reality of it. But also, the flash is expensive. I mean, 1 terabyte drive for $1,500. Well, that's quite a lot. And obviously, that's just 1 terabyte. And a lot of you guys have much more data. It's, as far as I remember, some of you have more than 10, which makes the budget of non-RAID system like $15,000. And if you want to use RAID 10, that multiplies the budget for 4 times actually, so $60,000. And if you're running in the some kind of high availability mode, when talking about the storage, you need to multiply that at least for 2. So 100,000, more than $100,000 for storage, according to Microsoft approach. And according to Microsoft approach, again, the only thing that you can actually do as a shared storage in that case is to use cluster storage spaces, which is good. I mean, that is actually good, especially comparing to good old Microsoft SCSI Target, which can do shared storage standalone with a single point of failure without some significant performance improvements. And they, as far as I remember, they don't even had a cache. Well, maybe that changed, but still, you know, that thing is pretty straightforward. So what cluster storage spaces do is combining at least 2 servers into the storage cluster, and those servers can share some disk space. The trick here is that the disk space can be shared only from the SAS equipment, from SAS JBods. So if you want to fight the IO Blender with Flash, it means that you need to have a SAS JBods. That will be a little bit expensive, more expensive as well. And another trick here is that if you want to have if you want to avoid the single point of failure with approach that Microsoft suggests to take with the cluster storage spaces, let's call them CSS, okay? So CSS requires having 3 SAS enclosures to avoid the single point of failures. Obviously, you need to consider having the wires for each enclosure to each TSS server. One wire, as far as I remember, costs $60, and you need to have 3. Well, that's gonna cost a penny. Well, for me, but comparing to the capex of the disks, that will be nothing. Yeah, the capex of the disk in that case gonna for 10 terabytes gonna cost something like $200,000. Well, you know, according to my really brief calculations. That is still that's still an option for somebody. I mean, I'm not judge this, but StarWind actually took a little bit different approach. We decided to invent something new called LSFS, Log Structured File System. What the thing actually do? StarWind LSFS engine grabs all the small and all the operations, which again are dominated by the small operations and small random operations, into the some kind of container before it will be written to disk. In that container, StarWind combines those operations into the big sequential block. So the data is written sequentially with the big blocks to the shared storage, which is good and not obvious here is that is especially the case when talking about striped arrays. That helps arrays. Why? Because usually the small block affects only one spindle in the striped arrays. With having big write operation that is bigger than the sector size of on one disk, that will affect multiple spindles, and thus the terabytes will be, generally speaking, turned into the IOPS. And which is cool. Again, let's just make a quick step aside from the IO Blender topic and talk about the what is more expensive, IOPS or terabytes? Uh, Remember a few years ago there was a cool guy who bought the new hard drive and was like, guys, I have 1 terabyte drive, and everybody was like, wow, you are a god. And okay, well, that was like 2 or 3 years ago. And let's take a look at the prices for that right now. That it's cheap. Uh, Everybody have a two or at least 2 terabyte hard drives, and the cool ones have 4 terabytes. So the terabytes are not expensive nowadays. And the trick here is that the terabytes have increased. But take a deeper look into the specifications of those hard drives. The IOPS are the same. The number of spins are the same. I mean, 1 terabyte with 7200 RPM 3 years ago evolved into the 4 terabyte 7200 RPM drive. So the more data you have, the more workload is obviously gonna rely on the hard drive, but it cannot give more than 3 years ago. So more IOPS mean that you need to move to faster drive. So you need to switch from 7200 to 10,000 RPMs. Moreover, SAS can give you 15,000 RPM. Yeah, they are like really loud, and I don't want to have one in my desktop PC at home. But server environments don't care about the loudness, right? Uh, but and again, the more RPMs you have, the more fortune you should spend to get that equipment. So let's get back to StarWind. Let's get back to turn TBs into IOPS. StarWind affects multiple spindles and thus increasing the speed of the share storage. Also, the IO blender effect may result actually in the physical killing of the storage. Why? Because if you decided to make some, long story short, if you decided to take all flash storage, the more small multiple, the more small random writes will be processed by the storage, the more life cycles it should take, and the less lifetime it will have. As far as you guys know, there are two type of SLC of flash storage: SLC and MLC. So MLC has something like 10,000 erase cycles per sector, and SLC have 100,000 erase cycles. And I will give you one try to guess which one of those two will actually be more cost effective. So with StarWind, that will, well, I will not say that that will no longer be the case because they will die eventually. I mean the flash drive. But if you will convert the small operations into big operations, that means a significant decrease of the flash, read-write operations and erase cycles. So it will live longer, which is really, really good. Well, it is as for me. Well, that is like short introduction, and that mostly it from how StarWind helps to avoid the performance drops in the virtualized environment and in the systems that may be affected by the IO Blender. So if you don't have any questions that I will gladly answer right now, that's gonna be short. I'm gonna switch to the next slide, and we actually have the question from jury, which is quotation. I wonder how latency increases with this approach. Great question. In our test lab, the latency obviously increased, but that wasn't significant. It was something like 1 millisecond or something, 1-2 milliseconds. The goal that our developers had is to make LSFS work with the 90% speed from the shared storage speed. Oh, yeah, another big thing that I forgot to mention, and I haven't included in the slide, unfortunately, is that LSFS, log storage file system, comes with the deduplication technology, which removes the unused. Well, the deduplication is optional when you go into with LSFS. So deduplication removes the unused data blocks and writes to the disk only unique ones, which again decreases the number of erase cycles of the flash, and which again assumes that the performance will be increased, since if you need to, even when talking about the spindle systems, if you don't need to write, read or write random things from the disk, that decreases the number, and you have only one, that decreases the number of spins that disk should do to perform the operation, which obviously give the performance boost. Okay, Ahmed says either any technical work that's going to be in the session. Sure, that is actually what I was going to do. Uh, and also, Ahmed asked if the replication a feature provided by StarWind virtualization SAN. Of course, that is our technology. And by the way, let's get back to comparison of Microsoft technology and StarWind. Actually, both of them have the duplication, built in. But the difference is that StarWind has inline deduplication, while Microsoft has, provide the offline deduplication. So what the difference? Again, sorry I don't have a slide for that, but let me, try to explain. I hope I'll be a good explainer here. So with Microsoft approach, the data is written to the disk, then it hangs there, meeting some new friends, drinking some beer, getting some scotch, maybe meeting a wife, and then probably after hours the deduplication kicks in. It removes the duplicates data blocks, I mean, and it erases it. And after that, there is some kind of defragmentation kicks in. So the data blocks that are left are taking place of the ones that have been erased. So you've got 3 erase operation here. I mean, you know the conclusion from this, right? Flash don't like it. With StarWind, all the data is duplicated in that container before it's gonna be written to the disk. So there will be only one erase operation, and again, I will not tell you what the conclusions are here, because it's kind of really obvious. Guido, I saw your question. I will actually prefer to answer it a little bit later if you don't mind. Hey, by the way, hi, how are you? Okay, so right now on your screens you have a demo stand overview. Well, we have 2 servers that I'm gonna show you that are configured in hyperconverged manner, where the compute and storage layers are segregated. So basically we have only 2 servers that are simultaneously running the virtualization cluster provided by Hyper-V, and the shared storage cluster that works in fault tolerance manner provided by obviously StarWind. By the way, before I will begin, if there is something that that you want to see on this live demo, type your request into the chat box and I'll see what I can do. But right now, let's see the StarWind virtual SAN in action. Okay, let me grab my remote desktop to your screens. Here, the first one should be right. Okay, so I've got this server, which one of the servers that I have just introduced you to, and I've got this one, the second one. Also, well, as far as you can see, they are actually pre-configured. I've got the Hyper-V cluster here. I've got the StarWind here. Let it be. Let it be. Cool. The cluster, the StarWind cluster has some shared storage configured, and I'm not sure if it's gonna connect because I suspect that the IP address was given to StarWind host by the DHCP, and that is not correct right now. So I will just remove that thing. Sure, why not? I will just remove that thing and show you how the blank StarWind management console looks like. So let's just imagine that this is some kind of clean installation with a little pre-configured surprise. So to configure StarWind, well, actually what I'm going to show you right now, what I'm in, at least I will attempt to, is how StarWind can be configured, how to create the shared storage, how to connect to the to that shared storage, and how to make that shared storage as the CSV, and then I'm gonna show you how StarWind helps to stand some kind of failure. I predict that there will be some kind of questions. Hey, why don't you show how StarWind helps to fight the IA blender? Guys, that would be a really good question, but unfortunately we didn't have hour to get the necessary information. I would gladly run the IEmeter test from within the virtual, tons of virtual machines, and then would just make some beautiful graphics where we'll compare the something like StarWind LSFS against the Microsoft storage spaces, but that requires at least hour, and that's like really minimum. Unfortunately, we didn't have time for that, so just believe me. I mean, I'm not lying, really, really. Okay, so let's get back to our version StarWind Management Console. So to start managing the console, you need to click the Add Server button and enter the IP address or the domain name of the StarWind host. And actually, IP address would be preferred, but to be honest, I don't quite remember the IP addresses that we have on those servers. Yeah, right. And double click on the host that would appear, will result in connecting to it. Also, manager will ask you to configure the if you want to configure the cluster. I will give you a hint for the next couple of months. Don't accept that offer. And also, well, usually StarWind Management Console asks where do you want to have the storage pool. Pardon. Storage pool is the default place where the StarWind stores its virtual disk files when you are running through the quick wizards. We'll get back to the quick wizard against versus the advanced wizard a little bit later. So let's add the second server into our environment. Click connect button. The same question, the same answer. And as you can see, I was telling you the truth. There are a lot of things here that were pre-configured. Mostly we are using Quorum and CSV drives. So, how to create this StarWind storage? So, first I'm gonna take the, quick steps. So just click Add Device, enter the target name. Let's call it Mama. Enter, or just or just click Next, and that's it. Then let's let's take a longer approach at Device Advanced. This time you will be suggested to create not only the virtual hard disk, but something advanced. For example, optical disk drive, which allows you to export the entire optical drive that you have in your server to the, let's say, thin client. They don't have one. You will have option to export the tape drive or tape library, or emulated by VTL feature, which is kind of really cool, by the way. I'm pretty sure that we will have one of the tap room dedicated to the VTL topics. Also, there is an option to create the hard disk device, which gives you 3 options as well. 3 is our favorite number. So, RAM disk device, which is really fast disk that reside in the random access memory, and that thing actually helped us to achieve 1 million IOPS result a few years ago with the tests that we conducted with the Intel and Microsoft. Physical disk, which exports your hard drive from the server to the client machine, and the virtual disks, which create the virtual disk. On the next step, you need to specify where exactly the StarWind virtual disk file is going to be stored. And hint for you, don't store the StarWind virtual files on the C drive. That is right here in the test environment, to run some, not benchmarking actually. In production environment, we highly do not recommend to reside the StarWind virtual disk on the same partition with the operation system. Also, you need to specify on this step the size of the drive. Let's just stick with the defaults, and you will be offered to use 512 byte sector size that are going to be created, or 4K. As you can see, the 4K gives you a hint that the thing may be incompatible with some clients, and I'll explain that. Some clients is the ES6 actually. You never heard that, don't tell anybody. Just kidding, you can tell to anybody. Next step gives us 2 options. Let's count it at 3, everything should be 3. So thick provisioned is actually the one that we have created with the quick wizard. Thin provisioned is the one where the LSFS, our rockstar, comes into play. If you'll click on option button, there is actually one option: to use or to not use the deduplication. Right now I'm not going to use the duplication because that thing will actually increase the amount of time that is required to create the device. But guys, give it a shot. And another 3 options: to use or not to use write back, or write through, or don't use cache at all. That is actually setting for level 1 caching. Level 1 caching uses the random access memory to power it up. And usually we recommend to run the L1 cache in the write back mode, while the level 2 cache, spoiler alert, is recommended to use the write through, and that thing is actually flash based. As about the general recommendation about the cache size, level 1 cache gives, in our test lab, it gives good result, best results when there is at least 1 gigabyte of cache created for each terabyte of the shared storage, and the size of level 2 cache should be equal to or greater to 10% of the size of the shared storage. So for example, if you have 10 terabytes shared storage created by StarWind, you need to have Jesus, I'm stupid. Okay, there should be a 10 gig of random access memory and 1 terabyte of the L2 cache. And the last step, you need to give it a name again. So, and now the question, guess what my favorite rock band? Mama, I just killed the band. Okay, oh, we've got the share storage configured, but how to create the high availability share storage from the thing? Right click on the device, click on the replication manager, click add replica, and you can do almost major part of this thing with your eyes closed if you'll have something pre-configured here. So enter, 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 enter. That are actually the only step that requires you to get your eyes opened. So you need to configure the synchronization and the heartbeat. So enter, enter. Wait for a while. Don't open your eyes. Enter. Brilliant. Okay. That thing is gonna synchronize for a while, but it already appeared here. Mama is synchronizing. Cool. Let's give it a while. So again, okay, I'm closing my eyes. I'm not lying. I'm really doing this with my eyes closed. I'm assuming that the wizard already opened. So enter, down button, enter, 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 enter. Okay, so I think I need to configure. Yeah, I need to configure the IP addresses. Okay, I'm closing my eyes again. Enter, enter. Enter, and let me guess, nothing is happening right now. Okay, I'm just gonna click enter for another 10 seconds. Enter, 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 enter. Okay, yay! Success, profit. Okay, we've got the LSFS device created as well. Oh, by the way, for those one of you who already used StarWind, you know how sometimes painful the synchronization may be. There are a lot of reasons for that, and they're kind of obvious. So as far as you know, StarWind there are two. Oh, sorry. Ahmed is leaving us, so thank you, Ahmed, for joining, and I will see you next week, I hope. Take care. So let's get back to synchronization. There are two types of synchronization that StarWind can do: the fast synchronization and the full. The full synchronization synchronizes everything that is on the disk, while the fast synchronization is synchronizing only the data that has been changed. So with LSFS device, there will always be the fast synchronization, even after the full power outage. which is cool. Okay, so we have created the device. Let me just quickly show you how to configure it in the SCAD initiator. Okay, so where is our mama? This is a local connection, so in case if you're connecting to the StarWind device locally, you need to make sure that it is connected in the through the loopback. If you are connecting to Mama remotely, usually we recommend to configure it to run through the dedicated network interface cards, but if that is not possible for some reason, well, there may be options. You know, actually, before you will configure StarWind, our customers have the free installation assistance option. So why don't you just take it and double check how to configure the StarWind, with our certified, with our professional engineers who is doing it constantly, always. Okay, so we have configured this thing. Whoa, that's not what I wanted. Oh, good old Arnold. Okay, so what I wanted is to open the disk management, mgmtmsc, and to show you that the disk that we have created is right here. So all you need to do is to bring it online, initialize it as GPT, and format it. That's one of the steps that you can do with your eyes closed again, except this step, because you need to choose the 64K block size here. So next, finish, and we're done. After these actions, the disk should be available here as the G drive. So if you want to make it a part of the cluster, go to the Flower Cluster Manager, go to the disk, click Add Disk. There will be an option suggested here, and click OK. That's it. So let's get back to our pre-configured system. As you can see, I've got the virtual machine here. It's up and running. It's totally healthy. It resides on the on this machine. So let's just make a let's make live migration on the best possible node. See how it affects actually something. Whoa. Last time I had some issues with logging in. Hopefully that's not gonna be the case. Yep, it wasn't. Okay, let's leave it in that way. As you can see, it is on HVN3. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring up the HVN3 machine, and I'm gonna tell it to restart. Say goodbye to that thing. Okay, and let's take a closer look at what's happening on the virtual machine here. So the virtual machine is, that's it. It's already there, it's already here, it's already migrated. And that is actually why you need to cool. And that is why that is what actually StarWind was invented for initially, to stand the planned or unplanned maintenance, some hardware partial failures on the primary storage system. Obviously, the StarWind evolved and it provided the full package of business continuity features as a snapshot, disaster ability to create and configure the disaster recovery site, and moreover, recover in case of need from the DR copy. But we'll have a dedicated topic for that. But if you're interested in anything particular, type the questions in. Okay, I've got some problems with the connection to this server, so let's pretend that nothing happened. Okay, you deserve a beer. I deserve one as well. Good one. So, we came here to, and now you guys will get all of your questions answered. So, type all of your questions into the into this box. I will gladly give you an answer to all of them. Okay, so question from Guido. Guido is asking, is reclaim garbage collection already enabled in your LSFS? Yes, it is. By the way, Guido, I know that you are a really good friend of our company, so if you'll drop me the quick email to me, or actually Max, which is my colleague Max, I'm pretty sure that you had a couple of conversations with him. We will give you the build that is currently internally testing, and you will be able, to test it with us. Thanks for the question, though. Okay, next question from Brennan. Why do you recommend to not put the virtual device on the same logical partition as the operation system? Because if you will put it there, that may result in added workload on the drive that operation system should process. As a result, the whole system may actually start lagging. We don't want that. I mean, nobody wants that, and that is not restriction, that is just recommendation. Vikas is asking, can I get the recorded meeting? I am late by 30 minutes. Sure. The happening, as I said, is recorded, and as soon as I will make some quick addition to that video, well, just a quick one, we will upload it to website on our YouTube channel, and we will notify everybody through emails and post on our social networks, Twitter and the Facebook. Next question from, oh, it's not a question. Andy said thank you, no problem. Question from Sean, does StarWind provide network rate? To make a long story short, yeah, actually StarWind combines two or more physical servers into the mirrors, which is basically can be considered as the network RAID 1. And here comes the question from Brian. Hi Brian, how are you? haven't seen you a while. So questions are, what do you need for failover cluster minimum? 2 Windows servers in a domain, is that enough, nothing more? Yes. Only 2 servers are required to create the 2 Windows server boxes, and by the way, they may be configured with free Hyper-V server, which comes for free, right? And if there any chance that you will get StarWind for free, all the system will go for free. And there are actually a lot of options how to get StarWind for free in a own configuration. For example, you can be VMware user, or you can be Microsoft specialist. MVP, MCP, MCT, MC something. Okay, thank you for your question, Brian. Okay, next question from Brennan. Is there a written best practices document that goes over everything you did, such as not adding the cluster when adding hosts to StarWind, peak 4K location cluster usage? Yeah, actually we have everything like that written to that, except the cluster thing. Well, due to some factors, let's say. But yeah, we've got the best practices, HA best practices documentation that explain that. We've got the step-by-step guides that explain that. Uh, and by the way, I'm managing the tech manuals creation process. So if you have some requests, just drop it to me. And well, forget to do one thing. I want to share with you my short email address so you could contact me anytime that you want. I will get back as soon as I will have time, actually. I got a tons of work to do these days for some reason. Okay, Brennan, thank you for your question. The questions are actually finished right now. I don't see anything except the one from Corey. Corey asked, no domain requirement and with the physical boxes, correct? And they can just be standalone servers on Hyper-V, no? No, Corey. Microsoft requires having the domain to create its clusters. That's just how Microsoft works. It makes you to get additional server license. I mean, I'm not judging that as well. They need to earn some money, but yeah, you need to have the domain to create the Microsoft cluster. That's not the StarWind requirement. Again, that is up to MS. Thanks for the question. Mm. But while somebody is trying to write the question, get back to the Corey's question. But hey, to be honest, I never saw the like IT infrastructure, Microsoft-based IT infrastructure of the system without the domain. So I'm not sure that should be a case. Okay, let's wait for another minute. Well, I don't see any questions in each question chat box, so type them all in. If I will not receive anything within next minute, we'll say bye-bye. And while we're waiting, well, I don't know. Oh, okay. Corey asked again. Just the Hyper-V host, not the servers running on the host. Those would be the domain rejoin. Yeah, Corey, absolutely correct. So we don't care how Microsoft don't care how exactly the Hyper-V server is gonna be, at the part of the domain. So that's the only requirement. Shane, you have a good questions about speeding up the storage with Flash. But it's really specific, so it will be better if you will drop me the quick email and we'll discuss it there, if that's not a problem for you, obviously. Okay. Well, okay, I think we're done for now, or not. Second. And yeah, Brian actually gives a good hint to Corey. Um, you can have the domain controller in a VM and create the domain that is now that is not a problem with Windows 2012. Uh, and Corey, I dropped you my email address. Actually, as far as I remember, I have my email address on the next slide or not. No. for some reason not. Okay, so anybody who needs my email address, just type that at the question. We're done right here, and we're done for today. Tap room. I'm not too drunk, so I will go and continue working today. So thank you guys for joining this tap room session. I really appreciate that you all join, all of you actually joined. I was really pleased to see a lot of you guys. Brian, Travis, Vikas, Ahmed, Adolfo, Sergey. Здравствуйте. So everybody. So yeah, I'll see you all guys next week, and I wish you the really great weekend. By the way, I'm gonna go and have some ski. So I hope that you will have a fun time as well. Okay, so bye bye everyone, and again, if you need anything, just drop me a quick email. Okay, take care guys. Bye.